task in Minnesota, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Minnesota Army National Guard soldiers, we are people just like you, and together we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit nationalguard.com/MN to find more. Sponsored by the Minnesota Army National Guard, aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now is a perfect and exciting time to plan your next National Eagle Center adventure. When you visit this winter season, you can meet and learn all about the newest bald eagle ambassador, Perseus. Plus, the center is your headquarters for winter eagle information and experiences, including weekly winter bald eagle counts, golden eagle information, unforgettable expert-led field trips, and small group private eagle habitat tours for your family and friends. Make eagles part of your 2024 and plan your visit or experience today online at nationaleaglecenter.org.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month for love. So when's the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? If your carpet hasn't been professionally cleaned, you are breathing unhealthy levels of nasty dirt, dander, bacteria, and germs that keep recirculating again and again and again. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $119 and a free hallway. And don't forget dirt and dander's favorite hiding place either, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. If you're a business owner, protect your employees and customers by getting your business Zero Resified by the pros at Zero Res. Call today for your commercial cleaning estimate. Backward or forward smells the same. Zero Res.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy conditions clear out with a low of 28. Then Tuesday, clouds return with a high of 52. Randy Rainbow is bringing his Randy Rainbow for President tour to the State Theater in Minneapolis on Friday, February 23rd. Get tickets at randyrainbow.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You are right, Daga. This portion of this show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Support. Thank you for the round of applause. Support your favorite radio host on Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Or your favorite Native whore, as you were.
Yeah, I guess. It almost sounded like that. Hosts, plural. Hosts. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hey, a lot going on. Well, before we get into this groovy thing happening on the 13th, I just want to give everyone a big shout out. Great powwow this last weekend at Shakopee. Saw a lot of people that listened to the show, and just want to give a big shout out to them. Great event, and there was other events going on around the area. And before you talk about that, Haley, just want to give a quick shout out to State Representative Heather Keeler, who had a nice little meeting and fundraiser here in in Maplewood, and we got to chat with the Lieutenant Governor, it's always fun to chat with her, and great to see her. And Haley, you made it out there too.
I did. Yes, I would. Had a lovely time coming out and supporting Heather Keeler, and shout out to Jamie Becker Finn because she had the fundraiser out at Muckwa Coffee, which is Jamie's coffee shop, and Jamie was there as well.
Yeah, schlepping coffee. That was awesome.
Yeah, like a true barista.
That's right. And then I was like grabbing the free little pizza squares, which is so un-New Yorkish, but I guess it's really big. Minnesota have pizza and squares. I guess you can feed more people that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if that was the good old Carbonis.
No, they sell it there. They do. I've had it there, as a matter of fact. Hey,
good.
It is. It was really good. I kept gobbling away and asking for more. Hey, there's a couple of things going on here. I just, before we get to that, want to do a big shout out for all our Patreon listeners that give us a little money here every month. You really helped us through the COVID and really help support us, and really appreciate all you guys out there doing that. And we can tell people to their face, Haley, we got something coming up here on the 13th here in the Twin Cities.
We sure do. So we know, we know AM 950 is our mothership station here in the Twin Cities. And February is AM 950 Listener Appreciation Month. So we'll be doing a radio listener appreciation event next Tuesday, February 13th at the Park Tavern in St. Louis Park from 6 to 8 p.m. Come out, have some drinks, appetizers with us, and support your local progressive radio station and some of our cool coworkers.
Not all of our cool coworkers, but some of them. Just kidding.
Well, we'll be there, so it'll be cool.
Yes, totally. Maybe we'll bring some shirts for sale too. I don't know. We'll have to figure out if the producer's schlepping hoodies and t-shirts out there or not. So,
well, hey, I did learn how to use the Square app thing to charge people. So
there you go. Yeah,
learning something every day.
Well, you're getting ready for the fair with our store, so you'll be out there working with us and signing autographs, and we'll probably do the radio show out there again, like we did 2 years ago. That was a lot of fun, and we ran into a lot of people. We want to give a big thanks to our listening audience, and we've gotten some responses sent to us via email that there was 20 people that went out to the Lovers Art Market in St. Paul yesterday that heard specifically here on the show and Haley's report on what's going on in the weekend, and we just want to give you guys a shout out, 1 for going and 2 for mentioning Native Roots Radio, Haley.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that went out there in St. Paul and supported Indigenous artists. And I love when there's big crowds out there at our markets, because we know a lot of those vendors, and they're just really great people and truly amazing artists.
Wow, that's very cool. That's very cool. We got to give a quick shout out to Dr. Hackett, who always listens to our show too. Really, she's one of our best informative guests, and we just want to give her a big shout out too, and her support over the years of Native Roots Radio. But Haley, there was years ago when we first started the show, Wendy and I, and we were on once a week. There was people that wanted to advertise with us that didn't follow or fall into our way of thinking and what we believed in, and we had to say no thank you but thanks. And good to say that Dr. Hackett and Howling for Wolves is somebody that we fall in line with and support and always have, and it's great to have the support back and forth. And I know she listens to our show a lot, so I just want to say a big Peeny Gigi thank you very much.
Yeah, well, Dr. Hackett is just amazing in the way that she advocates for these animals, and these are wolf species here, specifically in Minnesota, is just amazing. And I just wish we had more organizations like Howling for Wolves that were advocating.
Every time I hear Howling for Wolves, I go, whoo!
Get your howl on. But these beautiful animals out there, and we just got to keep talking about those wolf hunts and keep it at the forefront of our legislators' minds.
Yeah, definitely. And keep talking about it here, because not always do we align with our government too. We have a lot of, and one of the things too that I was down in Minneapolis talking to our friends at Native American Community Development Institute, your friend Alex, and we were talking a lot about what's happening now in the election and all the misinformation out there and how frightening it can be with AI and where Gen Zers like yourself get the news. And I know it's a double-edged sword because I know you don't watch national news, and then watching national news and corporate news is not good either because it's so one-sided and visually. I got a quick story, Haley. So years ago, President Reagan, now we're talking the 80s here, there was a thing called what was that? Iran-Contra. And that was where secretively the Reagan institution was, or the Reagan presidency was giving arms to people, and Oliver North got involved. Long story short, my point was they were reporting all these things about the president, and on TV they were showing him come off the plane, wave to people, and smile. So visually, people really didn't hear the story about him. What they saw was a happy, successful president. And there's all these subliminal things that go on in the news that I know you studied when you were in college, but I see as an old person all the time where it's like, what the heck is going on here? I always tell that story about that big protest on Lake Street in Marshall here in St. Paul for Dakota Access Pipeline. And the local news had a chopper up there. I'm going, great. They're going to show all the people here and all the young, because it was a student-run protest, and have them all show up and look. And what did Channel 4 News do here in Minnesota? They showed half the crowd. Instead of saying thousands of people were on the bridge, they said hundreds, and things like that just bug me. So thank goodness for progressive radio, AM 950, Civic Media Network that we're on, and all the other stations we're on Turtle Island. So we just got to say a big peeny-gee thank you. We're going to have Dr. Stately on next, and this is going to be a rockin' week, Haley.
Always is.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Life can be hectic. Sometimes the pressure can feel like too much, and the emotions can be overwhelming. Hennepin County's COPE Mobile Crisis Response is here to listen and help you find a way through whatever is going on in your life. Call 612-596-1223 for no-cost crisis support anytime, anywhere in Hennepin County. That number is 612-596-1223. Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Howl! Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. Over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. And speak of honoring, we have Dr. Stately here, who is president and CEO of Native American Community Community Clinic here. And I almost went there to nowhere land there for a second. Welcome, Dr. Stately. Great to see you. You're looking good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you've been walking? You look like you lost some weight since last time I talked.
I do.
Yeah.
Maybe a pound or two here or there. I've been watching my diet a little bit and walking. I have been walking actually. I think I told you that I'm going to Scotland next month for a conference.
No, you didn't tell us.
Oh, really? No. Yeah, I'm going to Scotland with a group of with the research team that NACC worked on this. We did a cultural adaptation of smoking cessation app, and we indigenized it and got some really good results in our pilot. So we submitted a paper and it got selected, and I think we're one of either only one or two of indigenous focused presentations. So kind of cool. It's kind of exciting.
Wow, that is awesome. Are we getting a news break, or have you been on NPR lately?
Neither.
I guess we broke it here. That's awesome.
You're not getting a news break, and I haven't been on NPR recently. I think I was on like a few weeks ago. I can't remember what. Melissa Olson interviewed me for the encampment thing. So.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I talked to her for a whole hour, and I only got like 2 lines. So I was like,
well, here you talk a whole hour, and everybody gets it, and we're really happy to have you on pretty much every week here, and appreciate what you do for the community. It was an interesting weekend, and just to back up what you were saying there, I know. Again, one of the camps was moved again, and where our relatives going, and this has gotten to be kind of a sickening dance that we go through and our relatives go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the challenging part of all of that is that it's we have not. City, county, and state leadership have not yet found a solution to this problem, and it's it's not to say that Minnesota is the only one going through the problem, or even the Twin Cities. I mean, we have colleagues and partners in Seattle, and and the last time I was in Los Angeles, I was shocked at how many houseless people were there. Like, I lived there for 25 years, and I had never seen that many people living houseless the last time I was there. So I know it's not that we're alone, but I think what's frustrating is, and I mentioned this, I think, I forget what the context was, but I was in a group with a number of, governmental leadership, and then also some colleagues of mine in the Twin Cities. We were in a conversation and talking about the issues around the encampment, and I think one of the things I said was, when I just kind of said I want to weigh in on this conversation here, and when I about a year or so after I started at NACC, the first my first experience in this work was specifically within the response that NACC had and our partners, our community partners, to the Wall of Forgotten Natives, which is just 3 blocks to our east, right? Easily the largest encampment that Minnesota has ever seen in its history, bar the removal of Native people and the forced march of Dakota people probably is the only one that's possibly larger. But I think one of the things that was demonstrable in that experience in working boots on the ground, we're able to, like, I said in this meeting, I said, I want you all to remember where we were in 2018. Granted, there was another day in time, and yes, some things are different now. It was before the pandemic, so there were a few other things that sort of like are different now than was true in 2018. But we were able, across multiple jurisdictions, so across Hennepin County, the city of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, multiple jurisdictions, multiple enterprises within those jurisdictions, and community and private philanthropy and a few other, a lot of other partners able to come together, tribal, right? Red Lake Nation gave up their land and where they built their new building recently in the last couple of years, and they put up a navigation center. They put up the space and they supported it. And I think one of the challenges is that, like, we have this lived experience of being able to do a very amazing job of housing our relatives within a very short period of time in late 2018, leading up into the winter of 2018, 2019. Collectively, we housed over 400 and some people, and another 100 or so, a couple hundred or 200, 300 went and lived in the navigation center through the winter, and then were able to get housed in the spring before the navigation center was dismantled. And so we have a model by which we were able to work strategically and collectively and collaboratively on sort of moving this problem forward and finding some solutions fairly rapidly to do that. And then in the pandemic, we were able to sort of like, literally manufacture, ridiculous amounts of cash to solve problems on a worldwide global crisis. Because we had to, because people's lives were being threatened, right? And so we have, I always tell people, like, this is not an issue of money. This is not an issue of actually there being enough money. We already know that, like, when something's been deemed important enough and prioritized enough, and the folks, I guess, quote unquote, the people who are receiving the services are valuable enough, we can actually move heaven and earth to save people's lives and to do what we need to do to make people safe. So we know it's possible. We've seen it done a couple of times. I think the challenge has been is that, like, it is, I think some of it is due to political will, people being able to come to some consensus and understanding together. I think it's also, the scale of the problem is so huge. Like, we have across the globe, not just here in the Twin Cities, but across the globe, we have the most unhoused people we have ever seen in my lifetime, right? I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I remember being homeless, but I had my parents, within South Minneapolis, I had all my relatives living near me. It wasn't unusual for my mom and my siblings and I to, like, go from one family's home to another, like, as she was trying to get stable. And she was a single mother raising 6 children, 7 children on welfare AFDC at the time. But we had this safety net that existed in our community, and that safety net has eroded over time. It's really, that process is a direct result of strategic policies and processes that link right back to colonization and failed assimilation policies over the last several decades that have eroded our family and our communities. And so there isn't any place to go, actually. There's no, you don't have relatives nearby that can help you. We have, poverty and, unaffordable housing at record numbers than we've ever seen before. So the solution to the problem is large, but but the solution is not moving an encampment from one location to another repeatedly over weeks and weeks and weeks, and forcing people to move. They lose their stuff, they lose their contact with people like us who provide services to them, and we kind of remanufacture. and recreate the thing all over again. It's really challenging.
Yeah, it is, and it isn't like we count couch jumping too as homeless too, even though they are maybe friends and relatives are helping them. We talk a little bit when we come back from break on what can we do, what solutions are there, what can the tribes do, and that's a thing that I'm curious about from my other job too, because not always throwing money at it is the solution either. But go ahead.
No, I think by itself and in and of itself, by itself, it's not the solution, right? It's not
right.
I mean, the legislature passed its largest and most historic housing bill ever in state history last year. But it's going to take a while before that money comes down into community.
Well, and I was going to say too, we're going to take a quick break here, but one thing I wanted to touch on, and maybe we can talk a little bit about next segment, and is if the economy's going well, it always trickles down late to the BIPOC people, and talk a little bit about that next, because things are still dire, and there's still a lot of recovery needs to happen here in our BIPOC community, and especially our Native community. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, President and Executive Officer of Native American Community Clinic here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. We'll be right back after this short break.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, everyone. Matt McNeil here. We have a big announcement. February is AM 950 Listener Appreciation Month. Even though this station has a powerhouse lineup throughout the day, this station wouldn't exist without you, the loyal listeners of AM 950. And we want to let you know how much we appreciate you listening. Thanks to the generosity of our member listeners, we have a few extra tickets to give away for a listener appreciation event. This is a special thank you to you, our listeners. All this week, listen to the Matt McNeil Show, Native Roots Radio, and Ghost Box Radio for your chance to win a pair of tickets to our listener appreciation event, Meet and Greet, on February 13th. There are also chances to win tickets by liking our Facebook page and by signing up for the AM 950 e-newsletter on am950radio.com. Tune in to AM 950 throughout the entire month of February for other giveaways, like gift cards to restaurants and more. It's our way of thanking you for being a listener to AM 950. You are appreciated. Thanks from everyone at the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
If stress, pain, or fatigue are part of your life, then consider that your pain and tension may be indicators of what's amiss in your life, and it's time for a new perspective. At Resolve Pain Guru, we're here to help you reconnect with yourself, release tension and pain, move better, and sleep better so that you can do more of what you love. You have the power to take control of your healing journey with our online 6-week Change Your Pain course. Learn somatic practices to tap into the wisdom of your body and then learn to trust your intuition. Challenge your thinking and embark on a transformative journey with Resolve Pain Guru as your guide, unlocking infinite rewards along the way. Experience the life-changing benefits of somatic practices at resolvepainguru.com. Register for our 6-week Pain Relief Starter Series and start your journey to a pain-free life of joy. That's resolvepainguru.com. resolvepainguru.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy conditions clear out with a low of 28. Then Tuesday, clouds return with a high of 52. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
I am awake, and hey, we're here with Dr. Stately. He is the president and executive officer at Native American Community Clinic here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, and does a great work for our community and speaks well and to everybody about what's happening here. And we really appreciate you having on. That's to kind of wrap up this segment, because I think we could do a whole show on it. It's disheartening. I think it's disheartening too to see the movement of, like you said earlier, of these camps and spreading them out and have to start all over again. And there's so many moving issues and parts, and it's just one of the things I feel like is that the economy, when it is up on an upswing, really it's lastly hits the upswing our BIPOC communities.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is like, you know, it is a very complex problem. So and you know, like most complex problems, there isn't going to be a silver bullet that just sort of kind of magically solves it. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of parts that sort of, like, a lot of problems and challenges that have to be fixed, right, and find solutions for. Sometimes, and this is, and it happens often, and it's not anyone's fault necessarily, I think, but you know, government and systems, like, you know, these systems that serve us, whether they're housing systems or, you know, all these governmental entities, they're all parts of large systems that, you know, that are at work and make decisions based on regulations and laws that have been passed by, you know, legislators. And legislators oftentimes are not necessarily even the people that are the most knowledgeable about a particular issue or problem. They have to sort of listen to their constituents and or listen to other people who have expertise, who have their ear and can try to sort of, you know, give input into sort of solving a problem. And the problem is very, very complex, and you know, and so finding a solution requires, like, you know, a tremendous amount of diligence and, you know, focus, and, you know, but I do think one of the things that is not really talked about a whole lot, like in the state of Minnesota, and I think this is probably true just about anywhere in the United States, because I think, you know, we live within a country that is still deeply, deeply you know, troubled and battled by, like, you know, racial inequity, racism, structural racism, which is, you know, like the air. And it's like a fish living in a fishbowl, like, you know, with you know, it takes work to look at it and see it and point it out, right? And then, you know, you need people to actually acknowledge that that's true as well. And we live in a time right now in American history, or in the United States history, where we are deeply divided across so many, in so many different ways. So what that means is, like, communities like Black and Indigenous communities who have historically been underinvested or disinvested in for decades. We're not just talking a handful of years here. We're talking, hundreds of years, 50, 60, 70, or, years or so, so decades of like intentional disinvestment in infrastructure and support for those communities. Like we're at the bottom rung in practically anything you can measure, socially, economically, health, in terms of health, education. These things contribute to poor outcomes in all kinds of areas, and it contributes to sort of like, problems of this nature being intractable and not solvable, because people are talking about the things that are easy to just point out. Oh, there's not enough money, or oh, housing prices are really high, and oh, this, and not being able to say like these things are all related to the fact that we haven't invested in these communities and these individuals, or these people of color in a really long time. We've been actually eroded over the last 50, 60 years since the 60s. A lot of the policies and a lot of the things that were put into place to protect and to support and move us forward as an equitable society.
Right.
People get confused. They think equity and equality are the same thing, and those aren't the same thing.
Absolutely. And I think of, when you say that, I think of neighborhoods that were freeways were put through, and things like that, where there was strong community and intentional disbanding of the communities out there all over, well, the whole all over Turtle Island, but here specifically in the Twin Cities too.
Yeah, and I think part of it is like, when I've had conversations with people about this, I'll say things like, Black and Indigenous people and other people of color, they live differently than white people do, or their primary sort of organizing principle and way of thinking of who they are as individuals and as members of families and communities and nations is a focus on group living and the importance of the entire community. That's a little bit different than sort of like the Western, white American sort of model of like, how to get ahead in society, right? Focused on other kinds of things that are considered important. And the problem is that the whole, so many of our laws and so many of our structures that are in place, lean towards prioritizing and encouraging everybody to live, in that sort of Western colonized model of pull yourself up by the bootstraps and, don't help your neighbor, take care of yourself. You'd be better off if you only took care of yourself and paid attention to you or the needs of your immediate family. And we just don't live that way, and we don't think that way, and we think we have a different way of measuring health, wealth, and well-being than does the Western world. And so, we live within a system that doesn't value that. So we're disinvested in.
Right. What a really good point, too. Also, the push of suburbs and suburb living and outpricing, overpricing.
I read this really interesting article. I think it was a New York Times article. It might have been an Atlantic Journal article, but last week, and they were talking about how, in the 60s and 70s, white flight into the suburbs. People leaving the inner city and going out to the suburbs to create suburb living, and then over the last 20 years or so, like the investment we've made in encouraging Black and Indigenous and other people of color to move out of the inner city and move to suburbs, like a better life out there where you get a house, a yard, you get a bunch of other things, and in some ways actually encouraging us to live more like white people, right? And then that happens, and this article talked about how, like, over the last 10 or 15 years, we've been seeing white people flee from those suburbs to,
Brooklyn.
Well, to Brooklyn, I don't to Brooklyn, but like like places like using a Minnesota analogy, would be like, I'm not gonna live in Bloomington and Edina anymore. That's it's getting a little too brown near me, and there's some other
Right.
issues that come with that. I'm gonna move out to, I don't know, like New Prague.
Yeah. No, I
And
get it.
so these are phenomena that we see happening, where people, rather than staying in place and trying to be civically engaged and solve problems and work collectively and collaboratively on solving problems, they escape, right?
Yeah.
And in order to escape those kinds of conditions, you have to come from wealth, or you have to have resources to do that. And we know that, it is, I was just telling my sons this the other day. It is really hard. It is really, really easy to become unrich very rapidly, because rich is just like, if you're getting paid a lot of money or for a short period of time, you can feel very rich, but wealth is generational. Like wealthy people, their money makes money while they're sleeping. They couldn't become unwealthy if they tried, because the
Exactly.
system is structured to incentivize and support more wealth and wealth building. And so there's some real challenges and problems we have with this whole entire process.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I mean, we see examples of that, whether it's the music industry or sporting industry or owners of sport teams. We see those
Yeah,
examples all the
yeah,
time.
and you asked me a question before we went on break. You asked me, like, what can tribes do? And I think I see a lot of tribes being, like, Red Lake Nation is doing some really interesting stuff on their own homeland. They're building these enterprises, and they're capitalizing on, the opportunities to do things like open a dispensary. They didn't wait to ask for permission from the state or the feds to open a dispensary once marijuana became legal. They figured it out, and they're an independent nation, a sovereign nation. They can do that, right? And so we have to, as tribal people, we've always been really, really intelligent and smart. We're the original researchers on the planet. We mapped the stars 10,000 years before Galileo did. There isn't a problem we can solve when we put our minds together collectively to solve something, and we rely on the knowledge and the experience of our ancestors, and we rely also on the creativity and the ingenuity of our young ones. They're the most creative, right? They can imagine. They haven't been hardened by life's experiences yet. They can imagine things that we can't imagine. And so we
Yeah.
have to bring all of that sort of together, along with our sort of like, and I see tribes bringing, creating systems and bringing their people home, and creating a sustainable life for them on their own tribal lands, and that's amazing. We need to do a little bit more of that, perhaps.
Wow, really good. Hey, we're with Dr. Stately here, and we're talking pretty heavy here. I'd like to probably wrap it up the next segment and maybe talk a little bit about the Electric Indian, and what your thoughts were on the movie. And I know Haley was able to go there, and I had FOMO. I was in Madison, so I had big FOMO, and maybe I can get a screener from them. I don't know.
It's going to be in the film. It's going to be in the film festival too, I think, in about a month.
Yep, that's right. I can't wait though. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we're with Dr. Stately here, President, Executive Officer of Native American Community Clinic here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. We'll be right back.
Are you thinking about college? Consider checking out Minnesota Private Colleges. These 18 nonprofit institutions keep the focus on students with small classes and professors who will get to know you. You'll find students from all backgrounds, and no two colleges are alike. And when it comes to cost, they're more affordable than you think. Find the college that's right for you at mnprivatecolleges.org/possible. mnprivatecolleges.org/possible.
Become a teacher and ignite change. Join the St. Paul Urban Residency Program to become a teacher in just 15 months. You can earn your master's degree and teaching license from the University of St. Thomas while earning a $30,000 stipend, single health care, and dental benefits. As an added bonus, next year's cohort, all residents will receive $20,000 towards their tuition. Apply now. Applications due February 28, 2024. Visit spps.org/SUTR.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
How? Hey. Well, welcome back to Native Roots Radio, and here with Dr. Stately, and we're talking some heavy-duty stuff here. I'd like to switch topics here in the last segment and get your response on the Electric Indian, the Henry Boucher story that you and Haley were able to watch. I heard it was pretty emotional, and we all wish Henry was still here to see it.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. I was so happy to be there. It was I got to see the rough cut before, because they sent me out the link, and I think I told you that. It's like, like before it was like color corrected. Felt like I was watching a movie from like back in the 50s or 60s. Expecting Billy Jack to jump out of that. But it was really beautiful. It did an amazing job of kind of describing his life experience and his family and his values. He was just a remarkable human being. And, it's like the thing, the incident that happened to him where he ended up losing his eye, damaging his eye and not allowing him never being able to play again. It's kind of like, it's really clear that first of all, that game was here in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
And I think it happened over, wasn't it in the Edina rink? I think maybe.
Yeah, the Met Center, right where All of America is now.
Yeah, or some Bloomington or Richfield. But anyway, it was like really remarkable to me because it stood out. I've heard the story and things like that, but watching all of the lead up to that incident and happening, and it's like he's having this amazing career, and he's just like, he's on fire. He's like, like he could have, he had just in a very short period of time in his life, he had an amazing, career of just like nothing that I really, I guess I would arguably say that I'm not the most knowledgeable about sports. I happen to be knowledgeable about hockey because I've had kids playing it for 14 years now, 12 years, I think. Just feels like forever. But he did achieve quite a remarkable level of achievement in a very short period of time in his life. And I think that, it was interesting that, that incident was clearly retaliation from the other player who had, was angry with him, right? probably embarrassed, right? Because he
Mhm.
kind of got his ass handed to him on the ice. Sorry, am I not allowed to say that?
You can't say that on NPR either, throwing that out there.
Just, uh, and probably racially motivated, right? So
Yeah.
it's the early 70s, I think, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, and it was like, I remember that moment in the film where it was like, and he, the county attorney, charged the other player with, assault. It was like
Yeah.
a criminal offense, and the jury, not surprisingly, probably all white jury too at that, right?
Mhm.
Found acquitted him. Found threw the case out. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like, like it's just so we, I don't know. I hold that incident sort of like in the same sort of like other hand here we have like these we have in a lot of ways we have talked earlier in an earlier segment about like structural racism and the amount of sort of like um, uh, sort of turning the other cheek of justice systems and things like that, right? He was robbed of an amazing career because somebody was envious of his skills and his talent. And went after him on the ice, and I think right before that, Henry kind of knocked him to the ground, right? So
Right. I don't know if he saw double vision the rest of his life. Was that in the movie? If he was still seeing double vision because he ended up suing the NHL. And what's amazing to me, Dr. Stately, is that he was done with hockey by the age of 28, and we still
yeah,
talk about him 50 years later.
yeah, yeah.
How much legend and how much he gave back to his community too.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he was still suffering from double vision. Like when I got to spend like the day with him when my kids were with him shooting the B-roll footage for the film. And my experience of just visiting with him, he made me laugh. He was, he had an amazing sense of humor. It reminded me a lot of like talking to my uncles, growing up. They just have like that indigenous humor that's really sort of like not openly caustic, but sort of like um, and he was so generous with his time. He didn't just, I had to ask him things about his life to have him talk to me about the things that he wanted to. He asked me about my kids first and how long have they been playing, and he saw them skating. He was like, your sons are very good skaters, remarkable. And he was just a really wonderful, beautiful human being, and that that sense of him came out, right away when I was talking to him. Leah Hale, the director and producer of the film, when she was giving remarks at the end of the thing, she talked about how her experience of working with Henry on the movie was that he always had a way of making the other people in the room feel more important than him, right? Like you were the center of attention when he was in the room and he was interacting with you. He didn't do a whole lot of like talking himself up. He talked
Yeah.
to you and he wanted to know who you are. He made you feel like you were the most important person in the room. And that's certainly how I felt for those 2.5 or 3 hours I spent with him,
Yeah. I
He
had
kept asking me to bandage his finger. He was on blood thinners because he had the heart condition, and he cut his
Yeah.
finger, and he kept bleeding. There was like
Wow.
even shots of if you look closely in some of the B-roll film, you can see the blood on the ice. But he was like, "You're a doctor, help me." And I was like, "I'm really not that kind of doctor. All I can do is just keep putting band-aids on it until you hold your hand up."
Well, Henry has a book too out there. Go Henry Boucher, Ojibwe, Native American Olympian. We sold that autographed copies at Native Roots Trading Post, and sold out every year that
you have one left, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's saving it.
Every year I look under my Christmas tree waiting to see if it's there, but it's never there.
Well, I don't celebrate Christmas because I'm all indigenous and stuff. JK. Hey, but he was still really involved with I got to meet him with Clyde when they were working on the mascot stuff, and he was really involved with that, and he was a big name to be there, and been on the show many times, and I will miss him because we talk pretty frequently, and there's there's Haley, and I thought that was going to be Henry Boucher, but it was Dr. Stately.
We're practically twins, him and I. What are you talking about?
Yeah, same height. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, vote, get vaccinated. Peeny Gigi, Dr. Stately for being on. And we're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.